gentlemen, welcome to episode 257 of the Drunk Bastard Podcast. I'm your host as always, I am Tyler, and joining me, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Tyler, I am doing alright. Playing a bunch of games, having a bunch of fun, and just being myself.
Oh, good. That's good for everybody, especially the ladies.
Of course. But anyway, how are you doing, Tyler?
Sorry, it's mid-drink bit. I'm doing alright. It is a Saturday night. I had a Friday off. That was pretty nice. First real day off since Extra Life. So, so it was nice to have that. But yeah, I'm doing alright. Doing the same as you, pretty much playing a lot of games. Not really jumping into anything specific, but just kind of playing a bunch of different things. But anyways, no, this is Drunk Nurse Podcast. That was a quick intro right there. Less than a minute. It's pretty good for us. Yeah, doing alright though. Not so tired anymore. Haven't had any pooping problems lately, like I did last week with my manager. So that's good. You know, everything's working great in that section, so things are getting better. But it's been you know, I think we'll just jump into the news first because it's not a lot. I think we can fly through that. It's been we're starting to switch places now in gaming. Where like we've had a few games pop up here and there, but for the most part, it's been so a decent amount of news in the first few months of the year. And then a handful of pretty good games. But now we're starting to, like, things are starting to turn a little bit. So now we're starting to see a lot more games popping up, especially because it's the end of the fiscal year. Everybody's trying to get their games out. But not a lot of news this week, so I'm thinking we can just fly through it fairly quickly. We're going to start off with we'll do the Nintendo stuff first. So we talked about last week. They announced their Nintendo Nindies presentation. Was going to take place on Wednesday the 20th, I want to say. Or no, 21st. I don't know. Whatever. It was Tuesday or Wednesday. And anyways,
it was on a Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday, thank you. So it was about 11 minutes long, and they ran through a decent amount of games. We're going to go through them real quick, and then we'll talk about kind of what caught our eye. But first off, Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes was got some more gameplay for that. Showing up with some more details. We got seems like there is a Hotline Miami level, and like there's 7 different like game types you're going to play in this game. They also announced that there's a bunch of different T-shirts from like other indie games that Travis Touchdown will wear, and Hyper Light Drifter is one of those. Then we had another game called The Messenger. It is like it's been described as like a Ninja Gaiden type of game, side scroller. You play as a ninja, and you start off like it's 8-bit style, and then like you like something happens and you're like 30 years in the future now, and now it's 16-bit, and you can bounce back and forth, kind of like Link to the Past, where there's 2 worlds, but one world is 8-bit, and then the other world that's 30 years in the future is 16-bit. So hearing some good things about that. Next up is a game called Garage. It is a kind of a top-down twin-stick shooter, much like Smash TV, or like kind of like actually like Alien Nation or Zombie Nation, really more like Zombie Nation, where you twin-stick shooter and you just fighting off hordes of zombies. Not really more to it was shown off other than that. So it's all these games are coming this year, it sounds like. Spring and summertime is what they're saying for a lot of these. Lightfall, it is a side-scroller game. When I saw it, immediately thought of Celeste, where you play I don't know what you play as, but basically like it's a platformer, and you get these like you can summon 4 cubes, and you use those to like get to the next sections. And you can crawl up the sides of them, and that's kind of where when I saw that, I'm like, oh, it looks just like Celeste. But the art style looks pretty cool, and that is also coming out this summer. Another game shown off was a game called Bomb Chicken. Kind of looks like more like a Game Boy Advance style graphics, like a little nicer than like 16-bit, but not quite like PlayStation or like GameCube style or anything like that. But basically, play as a chicken who lays, instead of eggs, he lays bombs, and he has an unlimited amount of bombs. You can use that you can like stack bombs on top of each other, get to higher sections, and you also use it to defeat enemies and open up new areas to get to and solve puzzles. It's a 2D side scroller. You can also be killed by your own bombs itself. Hearing good things about that as well. And then another one, Just Shapes and Beats. This is a game that's a musical game. Looks much like a Geometry War, twin stick style game, but you are like all the enemies and all the shapes pop up on your screen to the beat of the music you're listening that's playing. It's a bullet hell type of game. I think that's also coming out this summer. And another game called Pode, I believe was how you announce it. I don't actually remember what the hell this one is. I'm sorry, I forgot which one that one is. Let me look at the heavily inspired by Norwegian art culture. Pode pits you in the control of two unlikely companions as they travel through the insides of a mysterious and magical mountain with only each other's help. These unlikely travel companions will solve puzzles, riddles, and mysterious while also using unique abilities that overcome obstacles. Yeah, I don't remember that one. Sorry. That was the other game that was shown off. There's a couple other ones shown off. There was like an Adult Swim game that was like you play, like it's a pool type of game, like a pool table type of a game. Those are the kind of the main ones that came out of it. Gables, was there anything that came out of this that kind of caught your eye?
Well, yeah, there were definitely a couple of games that did catch my eye. Messenger was one of them because of the whole aesthetic of the reminiscent of Ninja Gaiden, a game that I really played plenty of over the past couple of years, considering how fast and intense those games can be, and it looks like the type of challenge where it's kind of like right up my alley in terms of hard knocks, sort of 2D sort of action games.
Yeah.
But another one that was announced during the Nintendo Direct, which I'm kind of interested in checking out, was called like West of Loathing. Now, West of Loathing was a Steam game that was released last year, which had some critical acclaim to it. And it definitely seems like the type of game which is it's so silly and looks like it's so over the top, though, that I would just love to try it out. It's basically a game. You have a bunch of stick figures and stuff, and you do a lot of various, like, crap in the West. That's definitely something that I want to try to maybe try out and stuff. But, yeah, you know what? Other than Messenger, West of Loathing, and I think there was another game, but I can't remember that either. But, there was actually some pretty good stuff that they went over. There was at least about 3 or 4 different games that I wanted to try to play that they announced that in Nindies Direct.
Yeah. Well, for me, we were talking about last week. I think it was a bit where I overhyped myself somewhat. Where we were talking about all these games that were shown off at previous Nindies Directs, and I'm like, all right, cool. What's the next? I'm like, I think I was anticipating like the next great. Like indie game out there, and this didn't really, like, none of the games on here really kind of grabbed me. And I think they're like, now, used to be back in the day, like there was like great indie games like stood out.
Yes.
And there's still to this, there's still some great ones that stick out nowadays, but like games like Limbo or Braid, those were games like Super Meat Boy, things like that. They stood out and they were unforgettable. Now it's like and then there's only a handful of those a year. Now it seems like there's like 1 or 2 that come out a month or even like a week nowadays. So it seems like there's like this really cool, like, great indie game that comes out, and then like a few weeks later there's like the next great indie game that came out. So I think the bar has been set way higher, and we're seeing a lot. My dog's playing with the toy now. No, Louis, he got his Bob Ross squeaker toy in BarkBox this month, and he loves it. Bob Ross was the theme for BarkBox this month, by the way, people. And he's a big fan of his Bob Ross squirrel thing. But anyways, yeah, like I was saying, though, like, I think what we expect to kind of blow us away is maybe almost for me personally, I should say, kind of an ungodly level now, where it's like I need something different, something I've never seen before. And not that like these games are like, oh, it's just another one of those, but like, not trying to disservice them, but like these games are, it's like I played like really good games of these already. Like, what's your twist? What's the thing that makes you stand out from the rest? And none of these really, I mean, there's some unique games in there, like Bomb Chicken. There's that, I can't remember the other game, but there was that one I was mentioned with the pool table. But the only one that really kind of stuck out to me when I watched it was Just Shapes and Beats. Not really like
yeah.
this isn't like groundbreaking game, like, but it's like Geometry Wars twin stick shooter, but just like some of the res in there too. I'm not even a res guy, but like it looks so cool, like the music playing and like like you gotta like dodge all the shapes and everything that are coming to, and if they hit you die. And that was the one that really like stood out to me. Like that's probably one I'm gonna pick up day one. The rest of them, like I mentioned, Pod or Pod, whatever you want to call it, don't even remember what that one is. Half, like, by the time the event was over, I'm like, I already forgot half these games. Like none of them stuck out to me really like that. Like, not like trying to say like them like they're bad, but just not memorable games really. I mean, there's some cool stuff like The Messenger. That looks that not my kind of game. Cool premise though. I am definitely not a Ninja Gaiden guy. But yeah, I thought it was okay. To me, the biggest thing coming out of it was something that wasn't even talked about at the Nindies event. It was announced after the Nindies event, and like just a side thing. But Hyper Light Drifter is coming to the Switch, and that was the coolest thing to me. And like Travis Touchdown has a Hyper Light Drifter shirt you can wear in the game. That's not gonna sell me on the game, but this game I'm already interested in. I've talked about it previously, but yeah, I've already bought Hyper Light Drifter twice. I own a physical copy and I own the digital copy. And I'm just like, man, I kind of want to just buy that again. Just keep supporting these guys because that's like legitimately one of the best games of this generation to me. Mm-hmm. And I just want to kind of keep supporting those guys the best I can. And that's one way for me to do it. So that, of all the games that were kind of shown off that were announced for indie games or just really indie games in general, the one that stuck out to me the most was a port to the Switch of one of my favorite games of all time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to like I said, my expectations are so incredibly high now that it's going to take a lot to impress me. And I've been burned a lot in the past, and I've talked about it a lot. I think last year or the year before, beginning of last year probably, about I got burned a lot in 2016 on like indie games. Like, oh, that's a cool looking style, and I bought it, and it was like, oh, this game is actually just all style, no substance, or it's just a bad game, or this is like, oh, it's just I played a million of these games already. And so I think I've kind of trying to get out of that now, and it's like one of those things where I'm gonna more of a wait and see type of person now when it comes to indie games. Now it's not just it used to be like, oh, that's a cool style, that's a day one buy. Now it's I want to there's obviously gonna be some exceptions to the rules, but I still want to. A lot of the games are going to. I want to hear some buzz around you first before I jump into it. But moving on to some more Nintendo news. So. They announced the top 10 selling. I combined 10 and selling into one word. But the top 10 selling indie games on the Switch so far. This is as of March 5th, so basically a year and 2 days into the launch of the Switch. And these are only games that didn't have a physical release. Okay. So these are like true indie games. So I'm going to start from 10 and go up. So number 10 was Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. 9, NBA Playground. 8, Overcooked Special Edition. 7, Enter the Gungeon. 6, Golf Story. 5, Fast RMX. 4, Celeste. 3, Kamiko. 2, Stardew Valley. And number 1, SteamWorld Dig 2.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think I own just the one out of these, actually. Kamiko. That's the one I've actually bought. And we've talked about the game back in the day. And we were just talking about it yesterday. Gables and I were played for a few hours, just got in, played Burnout Paradise for a few hours and shooting the shit. And we started talking about Kamiko for a little while. And here it is. It was the third highest selling game. That one came out a month or two after the Switch came out.
It did.
SteamWorld Dig 2 came out in September. Stardew Valley came out at the end of the last year. Celeste has only been out for a couple months at most. Yeah. Fast RMX was a launch title. Golf Story came out in the summer. Overcooked and Enter the Gungeon, I think, came out in like late summer, early fall. NBA Playground actually came out in the summertime. Got taken off the store because it was so bad, and they re-released it later in the year. Fixed, and then I think Shovel Knight Treasure Trove was also a launch title. So kind of a cool little mix of some big games that came out for it. But anything really stand out to you on that list?
Yeah, just give me a moment here. Well, yes. What's mostly surprised me are the games that have released this past year, onto the Nintendo Switch. Like Celeste. Celeste has only been out not even for like a full month yet. And it's like, it's already like the number 4 fastest selling like indie game on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, that is amazing in and of itself. But I'm not so surprised with some of the other titles that were on there, like say Fast RMX. I mean, yeah, that was going to be like a top seller and stuff. And SteamWorld Dig 2, didn't think it would be number 1, but it's still thought it was like within the realm of like 10 and stuff. But I'm more so surprised that you don't see like some of the other indie games that were on there, like some of the rhythm based like titles. You say like Voez and like Demo and all that other stuff, because those are pretty solid games too. But I guess maybe they're not considered indie as much as they are like full on releases. But yeah, I'm actually just kind of surprised, like in terms of not only Celeste being up there at 4, but also because of like the number 1 being SteamWorld Dig 2.
Yeah. That's awesome. As someone that absolutely adores SteamWorld Heist, don't really... Admittedly, SteamWorld Dig games are not my bag, but I still recognize that those games are fantastic. But I'm just hoping the next game is SteamWorld Heist. But I'm happy to hear that game is selling extremely well. Image and Form is a great studio. They're knocking every game they've made out of the park. And there's someone that's supported Nintendo for, since really the beginning, and Nintendo's done a great job of supporting them as well. And they've actually, there was an interview, he was on IGN over, I think Friday, he was on the Nintendo voice chat, and he was talking there. I think the CEO, I can't remember, is Brian, and it's a Swedish company, so I don't know. I'm not even going to try to attempt to say his last name. But he talked about like when the first SteamWorld Dig game came out on 3DS, they were out of money, and like if that game didn't sell, didn't pass Nintendo's I don't know what you want to call it, but basically their test to be approved for launch, then they were probably going to shut down. The game never would have seen the light of day. Came out, it was that game was on Nintendo's Nindies Direct, and it gave the game a bunch of buzz, and it came out still extremely well. Same with SteamWorld Heist was on the 3DS first. SteamWorld Dig 2 was on the Switch first. So they have repaid them, since basically the reason they're still around is Nintendo showing support and recognizing they made a great game. And it's cool to see that they're still, doing a great job on Nintendo, and they're on everything now. But it's just great to see that. Stardew Valley, obviously, that game came out. It's been out for about almost 2 years now, and to see it still is doing extremely well. Kamiko was like a $6 game that I just kind of took a flyer on last like April or May, and absolutely love that game. It's like only like an hour. You can play. There's like 3 different characters. You can play through it differently with each character. Each character has different weapons, but still a really cool game. Celeste, obviously, Justin talked about it a couple months ago when he played it, and I love that game. It's a game I definitely want to check out. It's just, I know I'm terrible at video games, and that's one of those games that's supposed to be extremely challenging, and I know that I would not have a good time playing that game, so it's just best for me probably not to play it. But yeah, the rest of the games, it's just cool to see that. Like Shovel Knight's still doing extremely well. 4 or 5 years after launch. It's really cool to see that. Like, it's cool to see that like all these indie games are doing extremely well. And there's like a bunch of other indie games that have come out that are selling extremely well. Yes. That aren't on this top 10 list either. Like we talked about last week with Blooming Tales, was saved because of Nintendo being on Nintendo Switch. Like no one bought it. It wasn't a big, didn't get a lot of buzz on Steam. Released it on the Switch, and now the company is gonna, they're still around because of that. So it's great to see. I actually picked it up just yesterday. I haven't played it yet, but I did purchase it. So it's a Link to the Past type of game. So yeah, really cool to see that. And I can't wait to kind of see all the other indie games that come out to the Switch, because it seems like they're kind of the go-to place for those smaller titles to go to right now. They're gonna keep doing really well. But moving on to some non-Nintendo news. One of my favorite things of the month, talk about every month, is the February NPD numbers for just last month. So go over released all the sales numbers for the previous month. They actually have a top 20 list for the last month. So I'm going to start from number 1 and just work my way down. So for the second month in a row, Monster Hunter World is number 1, the number 1 highest selling game of the month. Number 2, no real surprise, Call of Duty World War II. Number 3, NBA 2K18. Number 4, Dragon Ball FighterZ. Dragon Ball Fighters. Number 5, GTA 5. Number 6, Shadow of the Colossus. 7, EA Sports UFC 3. 8, Kingdom Come Deliverance. 9, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 10, Super Mario Odyssey. 11, Rainbow Six Siege. 12, Breath of the Wild. 13, PUBG for Xbox One. 14, Bayonetta 2, whatever you want to call it. 15, Madden 18. 16, Assassin's Creed Origins. 17, FIFA 18. 18 is Sword Art Online Fata Bullet. 19, Sims 4. And number 20, Star Wars Battlefront 2. And also, they do the top 10 games of 2018 so far. These are just not the games that came out this year, but the highest selling games, basically in the that come out, or the highest selling games since January 1st of this year. Number 10, UFC 3. 9, Breath of the Wild. 8, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 7, Mario Odyssey. 6, NBA 2K18. 5, PUBG for Xbox One. 4, GTA 5. 3, Call of Duty World War II. 2, Dragon Ball Fighters. And 1, Monster Hunter World. So a lot of big games in that top 20 list. But anything that really stuck out to you that's on this list?
To be perfectly honest, not really necessarily, other than like the fact that Star Wars Battlefront 2 is like all the way down now to like the bottom end of that list.
Yeah, 5 months after release, and or less than 4. Came out the week before Black Friday, so the end of November, and by the end of February. So 3 months on the market, and it's already about to fall out of probably when we do the March MPD numbers. Probably, especially when the big games come out this month, probably will not be on the list for high selling games.
What's also kind of surprising though is like Dragon Ball Fighter stuff didn't really fall like a lot or anything else like that. It's still like right above PUBG and stuff like that. So it's like it's still gaining a bunch of momentum. I mean, especially since like there's announcements for the 2 character DLC trailer. 2 character DLC stuff that are going to be coming up soon. Yeah. So there's going to be some more play probably on the PS4 and Xbox One for that game. So it's like, yeah, just not too many surprises. A lot of the same games that are on there. Yeah. And some of this that sold like kind of like what they were going to sell, with the Call of Duty one, the freaking like, not just PUBG though, but some of the other big name games like Grand Theft Auto 5. So nothing really too surprising.
Yeah. Kind of with you. It's like I said, Star Wars Battlefront 2. That'd be. I mean, the loot box thing has definitely done. To me, like when we talked about it a few months ago, I thought this game was still going to do really well, and it was still like, I think the number 2 or 3 game of November and December as far as sales go, but it fell off rapidly. An EA game. It's also a Star Wars game. Those two things combined together, you would think would be in the top 5, at least top 10 at the very worst, every month for a while, and see it just hanging on behind like games like Sims 4 or Sword Art Online is crazy to me. Cool to see like Bayonetta number 14, first month on the market, just a couple weeks on the market really, and then you got like Breath of the Wild still number 12, Rainbow Six Siege jumping back in the top 20, game that's been out for I think over 3 years now, and still holding on strong. It's getting, I mean, they just did a bunch of new content for it, so see that still jumping up and still doing really well is awesome to see. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is essentially the highest selling game on the Switch. I think Odyssey is still just nudging it out, but still crazy to see that in the top 10. Shadow of Colossus being number 6, kind of a bummer to see it that low, but it's a PS4 exclusive, and the other games ahead of it are like GTA 5, NBA 2K18, Call of Duty World War II, 3 big names. Then you got like Monster Hunter World and Dragon Ball Fighters are on everything, all PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So not really a big surprise to see that, but still it's cool to see it at number 6, but I was hoping to be a little higher. but it makes sense when you look at what's ahead of it. Yeah, no, it's good. It's cool to see that there's some really great games out there that are still being supported. I mean, obviously, you're always going to see GTA 5 is a game that will not die. I think that's going to be a top 20 game probably until Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out. And maybe even after that, it might still very well be a top 20 game. But yeah, it's crazy to see that. That game, the highest selling game of all time, and it's still, doing extremely well. But moving on to our last topic, like I said, there's not a lot going on this week. God of War has gone gold, meaning it is done. They're going to start pressing discs now. Comes out April 20th, so we're a few weeks out. Gables, you were kind of talking about for the show, but there was a big event for a lot of people, a lot of journalists that got to go play the first few hours of the game, and people come back raving about this game. So that's great to hear. They're doing a lot of big changes. I'm buying this day one. I mean, I'm kind of curious actually. Where are you on this? Like, I dabbled in God of War 1. I think I beat like 3/4 of it and fell off. What is it like? Are you excited for this game? And I'm kind of actually curious, like, what's your history with God of War?
My history of God of War. Let's see. This dates back all the way from 2012, 2013 and stuff. But I dabbled with God of War back around the PS2 era. But I did not have really a chance to play a lot of the games up until I had a PS3. So my history with it is I've played through the original God of War. I played it through on the collection disc on the PS3. But I've played through Ghost of Sparta and also Chains of Olympus when they were on PSP. I've played through half of God of War 2. I still have yet to play bits of God of War 3 and stuff if I choose to. But where I stand on this one, it looks different enough to where I do want to give it a shot. That's just the thing, though. I mean, from what I've seen so far, it looks visually impressive. It looks totally different than some of the tones from like the past God of War games. From what it looks like, it's more of a methodical sort of combat system and nothing that's like way over the top and super like Devil May Cry style gameplay like it was accustomed to being for years on end. And it looks like something which I could invest into, like, hey, it may not be day one, but it's definitely going to be around the time or something when I don't have too much really to play during that later half of April. So it's like, hey, I'm interested in checking it out.
Yeah. Like I said, day one buy. It seems like they're focusing more on the characters and the story. You were mentioning before the show, but like maybe we'll actually kind of like Kratos because he was kind of a douchebag in the original game. So
yeah, that's just the things though, because of during the time when God of War was being worked upon, it was more focused upon the action and the combat oriented instead of like more so like the characters and this and that. I mean, I still kind of stand by the side where Kratos and stuff, he's kind of a terrible character in terms of like his fleshed out, his characters, stuff like that. I mean, there isn't really anything you can really sympathize with him about since he's made out to be this big old gigantic monster and stuff. It's like a gigantic dick, not only killing off like a bunch of like his family and stuff like that in the games, but also like inside the freaking Greek gods and this and that. Even story-wise line, there's like he's sort of like delved into this specific path or something like that. But yeah, he definitely, I feel in this game is probably going to be a little bit more stomachable. Hopefully,
yeah. It seems like he's kind of matured a little bit, having a kid and all. I think I mentioned it a couple weeks ago or last week, but like literally after the first boss of God of War 3, he rips her head off, and then like the rest of the game, he keeps the head because he uses like to unlock doors, and he keeps the head under his skirt. So it's kind of like right in his asshole. The head of a dead god face is just stuck forever in Kratos' butt. So not really a good way to go out. So kind of a shitty thing to do to somebody after you rip their head off. But even if they did deserve it, I don't know if they did or not. I'm not here to decide that. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said though, I definitely I'm curious to see like a more grounded version of it. Kind of, it's not that hack and slash fad is thankfully over. So other than like Platinum, nobody should do hack and slash games personally. And I mean like 18 Platinum, not like Mutants in Manhattan Platinum. those guys should just go away. Yeah, so I'm definitely excited for this game. I'm curious, like, how, like, is this gonna be a game like where you need to like play the other ones to understand it, or maybe like you just need to know the gist of it. Like, it seems like basically like Kratos, after he, spoiler alert, kills Zeus in God of War 3 at the end, and Poseidon. Basically, all the Greek gods are dead because of him, and kind of goes into hiding and becomes a different person. And it seems like the past kind of come back to haunt him in a way. So I'm curious how much of the previous games we need to know to understand this story. But really, other than that, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hopefully this game is great. Hearing great things about it. Hopefully, it does a good not only maturing of the character and the series, but also the gameplay. Yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on that game. But moving on to like I mentioned at the top of the show, games are coming out now, which is really exciting for us. So we've both been playing some games this week. So why don't we just jump into what we've been playing? So Gables, what have you been playing this week, buddy?
All right. So to continue on from last week, I started continuing on with my little journey that I've been going through with the Pokemon games called the Poke Warriors Way. This past week has been sort of an interesting one as I managed to finish up Pokemon Crystal. And what's interesting about it is instead of doing like the usual 6 Pokemon on a team and do this and do that, I just decided to focus on one creature. I started it, I believe, last Sunday, and I think I finished it around like a few days ago, like say around Tuesday, actually. Well, the thing was, I had in mind what type of moveset I wanted to give my Typhlosion, nicknamed her Freda, and she has Thunder Punch, she had Fire Punch, she had Attract, and when she got to about level 60, taught her Flamethrower as well to try to take on the Elite Four and stuff. So I went through the entirety of Pokemon Crystal, going through every single trainer I could find, going through all the gym leaders, going through all like the Elite Four and the Champion, with just one Pokemon, with all the other ones that I could find for like HM moves and stuff, which quintessentially had it to like a party really of like 3 or 4, because I had a Gyarados that knew that I taught Surf, Waterfall, Whirlpool, and Strength, and I had a Noctowl which I taught Fly. Then of course the odd one out is Bellsprout, which had like Cut and Flash and stuff. That one wasn't used too much. But anyway, going through a bunch of the Elite Four and the Champion stuff, and there wasn't really too much of a challenge in that regard until like I got around to Lance. Yeah, well, Lance and stuff had like a little bit of like... there was just some fun moments with Lance and stuff where I had to try to take out his Dragonites and stuff, and I ended up like... I think, either paralyzing him with like my Thunder Punch in one moment and stuff. Then I just started to like, sheesh. I just decided to do like a bunch of random shit and stuff, but I managed to take him out. And then I just kind of had a little thing. It's like, oh, hey, you know what? I got through the main game in like about 9 hours or something like that. Yeah, like about 9 hours and 47 minutes, which that was the fastest I've ever gone through a Pokemon like Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Then I went through the after game and I got all the Kanto badges. And then all of a sudden it's like I am up through Mount Silver and I'm facing off against Red. So what was a fun fact was at the time that I got to Red, I was at level 77 with Typhlosion. So I was more than a match for his Pikachu as I managed to knock it out in one hit with my Flamethrower. And that thing was like level 81. Such a random level, but I knocked out his Pikachu in one hit, knocked out the Espeon that he had after using Attract, and then also going through like Flamethrower and stuff like that. Where it started to get most interesting when I was facing off was against his Blastoise. Now, Blastoise, Water-type Pokemon. Freda, my Typhlosion, Fire-type Pokemon. So, obviously the big old disadvantage there, they're the same level. Blastoise goes to use Rain Dance, which boosts up Water-type moves. He ends up using Surf, and Surf whittles down my health all the way up until like about a quarter of it was left. I literally survived a powered-up Surf attack from a Blastoise, which was really good for me, as the next turn I was able to use a Thunder Punch and just one-hit KO the damn thing. So I did that, and also I faced off against Red Snorlax. Also kind of a little bit of like a pain in the ass as well, but I managed to go through, use Attract on the thing, because my starter Pokemon is a female Pokemon, and using Attract on a male counterpart and stuff, they only give him like about a 50% chance of the dude actually landing an attack. Which, that's ended up what happening. He didn't land a lot of his attacks, and that led me to go through and use moves like Thunder Punch and Flamethrower, until eventually I knocked it out. So, after doing that, he only had 2 Pokemon left that I could easily take care of. His Charizard and his Venusaur. And so, I went forth with his Charizard, used Thunder Punch, boom, he was gone. Venusaur was the last one left, used Flamethrower, easy, picking apart, and yeah, that was probably one of the most epic moments I think I've ever had in a Pokemon game, where I was literally so close to being beaten by his Blastoise, but I ended up surviving it and just kicking the shit out of the rest of his team to where I basically swept Red with just one Pokemon. I've never done that, man. He's supposed to be the hardest trainer in the game. And I basically went forth with just one creature and just beat him. So, I'm not done yet with this whole Pokemon, with this whole like Poké Warriors way, as afterwards I spent like about a day resting from playing any type of games, because I went through like a big old slog of like a session of both Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Crystal back to back. So, after about a day's rest, I started Pokemon Emerald. Now, Pokemon Emerald, that one is a little bit tougher, as it has some enemy NPCs which are increased. It has more emphasis on double battles, and the gym leaders are a bit more reworked, so they're a little bit more difficult. At this moment in time, I am almost about 9 hours in to Pokemon Emerald. I want to say 4 badges right now. I chose a Mudkip, which is now fully evolved into a Swampert. I got a Tailo, which I fully evolved into Swellow, and little fighting type, a little like Makuhita, which I evolved to Hariyama, that big old like sumo wrestler type Pokemon that uses Fake Out and uses this and that. And most recently today, I caught a little Electrike, which I gave him the nickname of Freddy, and I'm going to evolve him into a Magnetric pretty soon. So my whole theme for the naming of this group of creatures, this party, this playthrough, has to resolve around, like, rock musicians. So my lead Pokemon, which is my Swampert, I nicknamed him Axel from, like, Guns N' Roses. You know, Axl Rose. Then, of course, my Swellow that I got going is, like, his nickname is Bon, which I go from, like, Bon Scott from AC/DC. Now we have my Makuhita that I evolved in the Hariyama. Let's see. I forget his nickname now. God damn it. But, like I said before, my Electrike I got was like Freddy and this and that and stuff. So, yeah, you know what? Just going through and playing through these Pokemon games back to back to back and stuff, it's more or less sort of like a Iron Man sort of run. It's something that I've never actually have done before, but at the same point, it's like, I don't know when I'm going to stop. I don't know if I'm going to stop. But I'm just writing this out because I feel like I'm onto something pretty cool, you know? Like, I've never done it before where I've played multiple games of the same type, like multiple RPGs, back to back to back, you know, knowing what to do and then going through progressively sliding up into, like, the upper echelon. So, other than that, though, I played a little bit more of Burnout Paradise Remastered, which, you know what? That was pretty fun. Like, you and I, like, last night, just going through, playing little bits here and there. Unlocked a hell of a lot of trophies.
Yeah, we did. I think we got like 6 or 7.
Yeah, and basically, since we couldn't do, like, any type of main parts of missions or, like, races or road races or whatever, we managed to get through a lot of the signs and a lot of the billboards to where we had most of the yellow signs taken out, and we have like at least half of the freaking big old billboards done.
Well, you do. I got like 40 or so of those done.
Yeah, and I
billboards, but I got over 300 of the 400 signs. So.
Yeah, I got like about half the billboard signs. I got like about 62 out of the 120, plus I got like over 300 of the yellow signs, the yellow like roadblock things done, and then I have like about 27 out of the 50 super jumps done. It's like, I don't know how they fit so much content inside this damn game, but it is such an amazing experience going through Paradise City, discovering little bits here and there and stuff, and then like going on the occasional race or the occasional Mark Man run or the occasional road rage or the hot routes and stuff. It is such a treat just to do that type of stuff. I mean, I'm still enjoying the hell out of it. Third time I've actually picked it up and stuff, and I was just streaming a little bit before we even started podcasting, and it was like, okay, let's play a little bit of this. About 30 or 40 minutes later, oh, hey, okay, I'm finished for right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great games to pick up. Like, I'll pick it up and play for 20, 30 minutes. You can knock out a handful of events, and you could turn it off. It's great. I mean, I love those kind of games now, where you don't have to invest 2 hours into it to feel like you actually accomplished something.
I know.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. You can play the game for 6 hours and have fun, or you could play the game for a half an hour and have equal amount of fun, and also get a good chunk of stuff done in that game. So where I am now, like, that's a perfect game for me to play. And I think I've put 7 or 8 hours into it, and I don't feel like I'm anywhere near done with that game.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way too, where it's like I've put, I want to say I've put like about 3 or 4 hours into the game in and of itself, but I'm definitely not done with it yet. I have currently unlocked the C license. I need like about 9 more wins in order to get to the B license and all the other stuff. I know I'm probably going to go ahead and probably beat the game sooner or later because, hey, this game is still very fun. I could still do a lot of various stuff, unlock a bunch of vehicles. And that's the thing. It's such a good experience to where you can just bullshit around and just like play games with like certain friends or just do whatever you want around Paradise City. And it just feels really organic. It feels fresh. And it feels like there is constantly something to do, which is really vital inside of an open world game. And there really isn't too many games that are like Burnout Paradise, which is in and of itself kind of amazing that after years of not playing the game, I can pick it up and just think, oh yeah, this is fairly familiar and I like this game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. It's great. It's fun. Like I said, it's great to be back there.
Yeah.
Did you play anything else, though?
Nah, man. Other than that, though, I'm pretty much good. I've pretty much played only those 3 games this week.
Okay. So like I said, I played a few different games, but I really haven't delved too much into anything. I probably played 4 or 5 hours of, actually more than that, because I think this time last week I only put an hour into Burnout Paradise, and I'm 7 or 8 hours in. So I played a good chunk of Burnout Paradise, but a few other games I played that I really haven't put too much time into. I started playing a game called Moss. It is I've talked about a handful of times over the last 6 months or so. It came out, I want to say, end of February. It is a PSVR game. You play. So kind of how it works is the setup to the game is like it's told like a fairy tale, like to a kid, and like you can flip the pages and read them, and like there's a narrator that narrates the story to you, and you are basically the storyteller. You're the reader, actually. And the kind of what the story of the game is there's this mouse named Quill, and she finds this crystal or glass or whatever, and she now she can see you, like you're like the reader, and she can see you, and you can interact with objects and you can help her get through the environment, through the world. It's kind of a platformer, and she can see you, but nobody else can, and she's like the chosen one. And like some terrible things happen. It kind of starts off in the story, and like basically their kingdom was taken over by this evil force, and a lot of time's gone by, and you're like living out in the woods, in this this new village of yours, and so you find this, show it to your uncle, who's also a mouse. Basically, everybody in this game is a mouse, and she shows us like, hey, I found this crystal. Now I have this person here, and and your uncle tells you, or Quill's uncle tells you, like, you're the chosen one, and like I guess he was sworn to protect the kingdom, so he's gonna go. He goes off and like disappears. So now Quill is like, well, I gotta go after my uncle and find my uncle, and like I said, you kind of go through and you can like control the environment, and like you move the PS4 controller around. And you can grab objects and move them to get to the next section, or move things out of the way to to keep going on. And you control Quill, and you can actually like I played for like 45 minutes, I want to say. I started feeling a little sick about there, so I shut it off, which sucks because I really want to keep playing that game. But it's cool. Like some things you can do, like the way the story's told is really well done. I love the kind of the style of it. Like this is not like a game that's going to blow you away graphically, but as far as like the games I played on PS on the VR, is probably one of the better looking ones. Like maybe not from like pure graphics and power, but just the style and the way things are done. This game so far, this entire game for me is taking place in the woods, and it feels like you're in the woods. Like there's like birds fly by you, and like almost like you can almost feel the wind in a way. Like I'm so sucked into this game, like I almost felt like the wind of like the wings flapping by me, or like the wind just of you hear the trees ruffling, and you can almost feel like the wind going by, and you almost feel like you're in the woods. Like there's a deer off to the side, like you can see in the background, and just the way you can look around and you can see things. It's just like I feel like I am in this game right now. I feel like the reader. They've done such a phenomenal job of sucking in this world in a very quick amount of time, and yeah, it's not like an incredibly fun game, but just like the way you're sucked into it and the way the game works, like they do a great job of like you're in this world now, and like the combat is kind of whatever. It's nothing super fantastic. What you do, the platforming isn't like, ooh, this isn't Mario. It's not Mario. They don't do anything gameplay wise exceptionally well, other than the world building is like where that's where the game is at, and like it feels like to me, like I only played it for like 45 minutes or so. This is like feels like the first like system seller in a way for the VR headset for PSVR. For me personally, I played a lot of cool games, like they're cool like tech demos. Like I played it for 20 minutes. I'm kind of done with this. I don't really feel like I'm gonna play too much more of this, if any of this at all. And this feels like the first one. Like this feels like something different. This isn't. I don't want to make this. This isn't like Last of Us or like Uncharted or Halo and like that. As far as like this isn't gonna be like an all time like great game when we look back upon things probably, but. I think for what people are looking for at this stage in the game now, it's $30. I think it's downloadable only. I think it's worth checking out if you have a VR headset. For a PSVR headset, it's a PlayStation exclusive. So at least check out some videos and read some reviews or something like that. But I think it's definitely one of those games you should check out. I want to keep playing it. I didn't want to stop playing it when I did. Just like I said, I was starting to feel a little queasy, which is a huge bummer. But it's definitely something I'm going to go back to later. It's one of the games. It sucks about PSVR is like I feel like I got to do it like on a night where like I don't have any like all right, I'm not really doing anything. I'm probably the last like half dozen times I played it, I felt like sick afterwards. So yeah. Kind of balance that out. But a couple other games I played. I mentioned it last week. I got GameFly. I got like a deal for like you get it for like a month for $1, and I got Kirby Star Allies. And I played the first world. I beat the first boss, and it's not grabbing me, man. I was telling you yesterday. It's like I played like the first 2 levels and it seemed fine. Yeah. I wanted to give it I want to at least play the first world and see if it kind of like if it gets hooks in me, and it's done nothing for me. It's just. I just feel like I'm going with the motions for this game. Like it's not really like it's not a bad game. Like I don't want to diss it and say like, oh, this is a terrible game or it's a bad game. It's kind of overly simple, and like I feel like not like you can really just not do anything, and your teammates you can grab like you can basically get 3 new friends, and you have 4 of you now. You can do co-op, and it's like you get 3 friends on with you. It's like they just kind of do everything. Like even if you want to like just do everything on your own, you really can't, because they just kind of jump in there and they just take over. And like when you're fighting bosses, it's like I really don't even know what's happening. It's so chaotic on the screen, so I can't tell who's doing what. Am I being hit? Are they being hit? Is the enemy being hit? Are my teammates being hit? Like it's just kind of a clustered up mess. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna play it anymore. Really, I don't know. I might give it another shot, but I'm not getting my hopes up for this one. It's kind of a bummer. I'm glad I didn't buy it now, but like I don't want to sit there and like I'm not trying to say it's a bad game. I think it's just one of those cases where it's not my game.
Right. Yeah, I understand. That's understandable.
Yeah. And the last game I played, and I talked about a little bit last week, but I started playing Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
I came on 3DS on Friday. I played through the first case, I guess. Starts off, you are Tim Goodman. Your father disappeared a couple of years ago, and you're going to go to his offices and talk to his coworkers and try to figure out what happened. And on the way there, something happens, and like these, I don't know what the hell they are, like ape things, like they steal they steal like this little kid's necklace, and you're trying to get it back. And along the way, you bump into Detective Pikachu. He's got a really cool hat, and you're come to find out this is all in the first like hour of the game. But basically, Detective Pikachu lost his memories, but he can vaguely remember some things and just kind of what things that people have told him. But actually, Tim Goodman's father was Detective Pikachu's partner, and so they work together. And something happened. And Detective Pikachu is trying to put back together his memories, figure out what happened to his partner, and Tim's also trying to find his dad. And like I said, I only played the first mission, so kind of basically more or less a tutorial. But like the gameplay itself is fairly simplistic. Like I felt like I figured out like kind of what was going on, like 20 minutes before I got to the part where it's like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm like, yeah, I know. I figured that out a while ago. But you got to go through the process to get there, which I hope is not like a constant issue throughout the game. But like the Tim and Detective Pikachu too, more importantly, are really interesting characters. And I like kind of Detective Pikachu's like style. He's like a grizzled old detective basically. Is what I think of when let's listen to talk, and he absolutely loves coffee, which maybe Detective Pikachu is my spirit animal, because I am a man who loves coffee as well. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep playing it. Like I said, all 3 of these games I've only dabbled a little bit. Like Moz played about 45 minutes of. Detective Pikachu played about an hour of. Same with Kirby Star Allies. So not really my full impressions on these yet, but so far, for Moss and Detective Pikachu, off to really good starts. Games where I want to keep playing them and check them out. So that's really what I've been playing this week. I'll talk about more next week. And Far Cry 5. I got that one pre-ordered, and I already been downloaded, and I just gotta wait for it to come out on Tuesday. But yeah. So, I think that's pretty much going to wrap up the show for the week, Gables. Like I said, not a lot going on. Hopefully, the game's coming out now. Can't have games and news at the same time. It's kind of seems how the world works for video games. But if you guys want to hear more from us, we have a page, Facebook page and group. It's Drunk Nerds Podcast, Drunk Dashers Podcast. Sorry. Like and join us on there. On Twitch, Drunk Nerds Podcast. Follow us, and please send us friend requests. We're friends are good. On Twitter, we're at Drunk Nerds Pod. Follow us on there, please. And then on YouTube, we are Drunk Nerds Podcast. So subscribe to us on there. And go on there, and our podcast goes up there. Go ahead, please give us a big thumbs up. Like, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff. And also on iTunes, Drunk Nerds Podcast. Subscribe to us on there. Leave us a 5-star review. And a nice little comment. We really appreciate if you did that. Helps more people see us. So if you like us and you want us to be a little more successful, we really appreciate if you did that. But I was your host. I was Tyler.
And I have been Colonel Gables. So until next week, everyone, I hope you have yourself a good week. Hope you play a couple of very decent games if you can. And among us, you just have yourself a nice week.
Yep. Hey Gables. Too sweet.
Too sweet.
Bye, guys.
See ya.